NFL fans? Are you ready? This is the podcast on all things NFL. The fantasy football players you should sit, ones you should start, guest speakers, game recaps, pre-game predictions, plus live call-ins from viewers, and so much more. Welcome to NFL Talk Live with your hosts, Reigning Ravens 1 and Alex, a.k.a. PurpleSwordfish.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of NFL Talk Live, Week 12 edition of NFL Talk Live. I'm your host, Reigning Ravens 1. This is my co-host, Alex, a.k.a. PurpleSwordfish. Alex, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. First off, foremost, I want to wish, on behalf of myself and my co-host, we want to wish you and your families a very, very happy time of fellowship with your families and friends as we head into this Thanksgiving season. I hope that you take a moment to really observe what it means to be thankful during the season and really enjoy the company of your friends and family. And, of course, good food and football. You know, the 3 Fs: family, food, and football. You can't go wrong with that. So, Alex, I know you and I are in direct competition with these NFL picks. And after seeing the results of last week's picks, I'm thinking I already started going online looking at some prices for some different gear, like some Tampa Bay Buccaneers banners and some T-shirts and a new cap. Like, it's not looking good. I went 8-6 on Week 11. It was not a very good week for me. I just dropped the ball. I was supposed to keep it competitive with you, and I dropped the ball, and you took a major lead. I think you're like 6 games ahead of me in the picks right now. Something crazy like that?
Yeah, I went 11-3, and right now I have a 5-game lead, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, you have a 5-game lead. Week 11, if we can go to it real quick, I was 8-6. One of my worst weeks since running this podcast. Thursday Night Football, I continue to be money. That's if that's all the season was predicting Thursday night games, I'm golden. You know, I'm good on that. But that's when the rest of I knew things weren't going to go well when the Giants beat the Chiefs. I'm like, okay, so that's how today's going to go. You know, who saw that one coming? Hold them to 9 points. Unbelievable. What else here stands out to you from Week 11?
Yeah, Week 11 was pretty interesting. I really got to say the Chiefs are incredibly disappointed at this point. Their own head coach is saying they need to get that offense going, to which I say, well, Andy Reid, what are you doing about the situation? Because you're the guy holding the giant Denny's menu, and I think maybe, just maybe, that wasn't a playbook last week. It might have been a Denny's menu in Andy Reid's hands. But, yeah, that was pretty shocking. Rams looked really bad last week. I was really high on the Rams last week. Really scares me about their long-term viability as a contender. And then, you know, I got to say it. I already had really low expectations, but Nathan Peterman, you really disappointed me in your start with the Bills. Almost set an NFL record for picks thrown in a game.
Yeah. Not even just in a game, in a half. 5 interceptions at the half. And
it was rough.
Tyrod Taylor must be somewhere in his rocking chair just absolutely laughing and rolling on the floor laughing, dying of laughter. He's like, they benched me for him? What? What is this?
I love it. Now it's like he could do whatever he wants. You know, like he could just like walk into practice and be like, you know what? I don't feel like practicing today. What are you going to do? Bench me?
Exactly. You know? For who? Peterman?
Yeah.
So there were some really, really good, like, hard-fought games. I mentioned the Kansas City and New York Giants game. That one, as much of it being a meme, like, Giants were double-digit underdogs and still pulled out the win in overtime. That was a good game. Another really hard-fought game was this Redskins and Saints game. That one, man, Drew Brees. Don't ever doubt him. You leave him with 1 minute and 11 seconds on the clock, and with the ball in his possession, and they're down, he's going to find a way to come back, and he did. That was really an amazing comeback. Another close game, obviously Detroit and the Bears. There was another one. Let's see. Oh, of course, the Monday Night Football game. How about the Falcons trying to rally, and they come out with the win on the road? How much they were not favorites. Seahawks were big time favorites at home, and Russell Wilson put in the same situation as Drew Brees did, and Russell Wilson could not finish it off. He actually did what he could. No offense to Russell Wilson and that Seattle Seahawks offense. Got them into field goal range, but that kicker's going to do what he's going to do. What's his name again? I got him on my fantasy team.
It's Blair Walsh.
Blair Walsh.
Russell Wilson had a really rough start to the game.
He did.
He had that pick on his second pass attempt of the game. He also had that fumble that went for a touchdown. So rough start, but really turned it around. And I got to say, this loss for the Seahawks, and I really don't care for the Seahawks too much, so please don't think I'm a Seahawks fan. The fan base actually annoys me to an extent. But, the blame here is not on Russell Wilson. It's on bonehead play calling by Pete Carroll, that fake field goal at the end of the first half. No idea what the thought process was behind that one. That one's pretty much on par with not running it with beast mode on the one in the Super Bowl. And then in addition to that, Blair Walsh, he had it lined up. He just didn't get enough distance on it, which you don't typically see in the NFL from that distance.
Right.
But, still, tough loss for the Seahawks. I know the rest of their schedule is pretty rough after this week with the 49ers, but what a rebound for the Falcons.
Absolutely. And like you said, I did take a look at their remaining schedule immediately following that loss. I'm like, I don't know. I see maybe 2 wins here.
The only team in the NFC that has a tougher road ahead that had playoff aspirations is the Dallas Cowboys. And those are 2 pretty grave situations for 2 different teams.
Yep. And I think that makes for a pretty good segue for us to get into our Week 12 picks, because Dallas does play tomorrow against who did they play? They don't play tomorrow, do they? I think they do.
They do. They always play on Thanksgiving. And,
they play. They play against the Chargers. Okay. So Week 12 picks. Let me say what a blessing it is to be able to watch 3 games on a Thursday. That is pretty cool. I mean, it's a blessing for us, the consumers, but for the players, maybe not so much. What I really like about the Chargers is they were very proactive about this Thursday game, and I'll talk about that once we get to it. But our first game of the day begins at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time for those of us here on the West Coast. It's the 8-2 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 6-4 Detroit Lions. Like you said, a team that's always playing on Thanksgiving. Lions obviously hosting this game. Vikings right now are in first place. They don't have to win this game, but if they want to secure home field advantage and a first-round bye, they're going to win this game. They've been on a roll lately. They've won 6 straight, and that's including an impressive victory over the Rams last week. Again, that's a team, if you guys watched last week's podcast, I actually picked the Rams to beat the Vikings. Boy, was I wrong. Vikings played a very good game. Lions need to win this game if they want to have a chance at the division. It's an absolute must-win if you're a Lions fan. However, I don't see Detroit moving the ball well on that crazy good Minnesota Vikings defense. Case Keenum continuing to play solid football, as Alex likes to call him, Casey Keenum. He's playing a solid brand of football, not making mistakes, not turning the ball over. And I do see Minnesota implementing Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray in their 2-headed attack against this Lions defense. I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings go into Detroit and win. That's my pick for that first game of Thanksgiving. What about you, Alex?
So with this one, I really like the Vikings. I think that they've proven a lot 11 weeks into the season with a bye. But through 10 games, the Vikings have really shown us a lot. Not only that they can be good on defense, but that they can also get the job done on offense. They still remain a questionable team when it comes to the red zone. I don't think that they're as efficient in the red zone as they need to be a true contender. But I got to say, the Detroit Lions this year, they really duped me. I thought they were a playoff team. I thought Matt Stafford, with that new contract, paying him the most of any player in the NFL, would be coming out and having a Drew Brees-like season where he basically carries the Lions despite some questionable personnel to the playoffs. But I just can't trust him enough. Now, what does concern me about this game, I looked this up before I made this pick. Detroit has won 4 consecutive Thanksgiving Day games.
Wow.
But their opponents, and last year, their win was against this very same Minnesota Vikings team. But here, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think they snap the 4-game win streak and take a win in this game.
Okay. Alrighty. Moving on to the next game. We've got the 4-6 LA Chargers against the 5-5 Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys playing at home. So, again, short week for any team that played on Sunday to get here early on a Thursday. They don't even get a whole day of Thursday to prepare. Early on a Thursday and play. What I really, really like and appreciate about the LA Chargers is their game planning. Once they knew on Sunday that blowout game was in hand, they started sitting players. Okay, they started actually guys like Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen, Melvin Ingram, and Joey Bosa didn't play a snap in the fourth quarter. They benched them. They're like, hey, you know what? We're winning by like 30 points. We're good. We don't need to play these guys. Save them for next week, or save them for Thursday, 3 days later. Dallas is having a lot of issues on offense. Without Ezekiel Elliott and, oh my goodness, Tyron Smith, forget about it. That pass rush, led by Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, is going to get through that line. They're going to get at Dak. Dallas has proven that they don't have a solid rushing attack to lean on, so they're having to go fully on the shoulders of Dak Prescott, which I don't think is a good thing. Not good for longevity, especially as we go into December football, where champions and losers, or as Alex perfectly says, contenders and pretenders begin to separate. We start seeing the competitors and the real teams separate from the pretenders. And it's going to be a tough stretch of games for them to play. Looking at Dallas' schedule again, man, I see like 3 victories. If they have to win out, I don't think they will. I see like maybe 2 or 3 victories in there. Dallas's defense, not very good, very vulnerable right now. And I just see the Chargers winning this one. I know they're probably an underdog going into Dallas. Do you have the line for that one, Alex, by any chance? What's the Vegas line?
You'd be pleasantly surprised. The Chargers are actually a 2-point favorite going into this one.
2-point favorite. I'm willing to bet that's because of no Tyron Smith and no Ezekiel Elliott. I could be wrong, though. But, hey, I guess they were underdogs, but I guess they're not. I'm going to go with the Chargers to win away.
Yeah, I really have some major concerns about the Cowboys. I know a lot of Cowboys fans have actually tweeted me over, I don't know, the last couple of weeks and told me that this team's definitely bound for the playoffs. But here are my concerns. Number one, Ezekiel Elliott, in a weird way, should be an MVP contender because since he's been gone, the Cowboys really haven't been the same. And that does also correlate with the Tyron Smith and the Sean Lee injuries. So it looks like Sean Lee's not going to play. They're saying Tyron will. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott will not be playing. And Alfred Morris, God bless him, he tries, man, but
he does.
He's not the same, and neither is Rod Smith. So I think there's just too much on the shoulders of Dak Prescott, who I said last week, I said he's a very good quarterback. He could be great one day. He could ascend to that elite level as a quarterback, but they're asking too much of a second-year quarterback at this point. And this week, it doesn't get any easier. You got Joey Bosa coming right at you. Last week, he made Peterman's life an absolute living hell, and I would expect him to do the same here. I also really like what the Chargers did on offense about, I don't know, week 3 or week 4. They really started reevaluating their offense and running different plays, running behind center instead of out of the shotgun so much, getting the ball into playmakers' hands like Melvin Gordon a little bit more often, and not shying away from the run game so much. So I actually do have the Chargers winning here, covering the spread, and making Dallas fans miserable on Thanksgiving. So sorry, Dallas fans.
Okay, so we're both on the Chargers. Next up, the final game. I don't even see this being a good game, honestly, but hey, I could be wrong. Well, let me preface this. Last week, when I saw that the Giants were double-digit underdogs against the Chiefs, I'm like, don't believe this. I said it on the podcast. I said, don't believe it is going to be a better game than what you think it is. I think we may run into a similar issue here. What is the line for this Giants team? I know they're underdogs, but by how much?
They're 7-point underdogs.
7-point underdogs. I'm going to take the over on that. I don't believe that that's the case. I honestly can't explain how or why the Giants beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week, holding them to only 9 points. I don't get it at all. This, obviously, you guys know this is a rivalry game, interdivision game. But this is their first meeting. This is the first meeting of the year where the Giants played the Redskins. I believe their next meeting is in Week 17. Washington currently ranked 31 in defense, allowing 24 points per game. So Washington doesn't have a great defense. Giants last week showed some real life in that upset win over KC. Expect them to show more of that in this game. Washington really needs to win this game. At 4-6, obviously Giants aren't playing for anything, but at 4-6, Washington needs to win this game at home to have a real shot at the playoffs. And I believe the Giants are going to do what they did last week. They're going to keep this game close. I don't believe that 7-point line. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do have the Redskins winning at home just because Kirk Cousins, he scores points, and he can lead that offense. And their defense, yeah, it sucks, but I think it's one of those things where the offense is so good that they make up for that defense. And you know what? They're not going to need a whole bunch. It's the Giants they're playing against. I got the Redskins.
So I don't know about the 7-point line. It's tough because this Giants team, they really surprised me last week. They showed signs of life. I mean, they were dead on the operating board, and we were yelling clear, and they came back to life. It's crazy. I thought this team would for sure just tank the rest of the year, kind of hang out with the Browns, the 49ers, hope for that top 5 pick, and just kind of start preparing for next year. There were even talks about benching Eli Manning, which I think we can all agree if they bench Eli Manning at any point this year, they're not winning another game. Not another game, period. Yeah. I don't care who they play. So last week they looked really good. But at the same time, I kind of wonder, is that more a statement about the disarray that the Chiefs seem to find themselves in, or is that the Giants came back to life? I think it's more the former. And with the Redskins, I look at them, they're a scrappy team. They still think that they have playoff aspirations.
Right.
I look at some of their losses this year, and they're really tough losses. Like, they lost to the Eagles by 10. That was a little bit closer than the score would tell you. They lost to the Vikings by 1 score. They lost to the Saints last week by 3. A lot of their losses have come against very good teams. So when it comes to teams that they're supposed to beat, they do beat them. They beat the Raiders. They beat a very good Rams team. They beat the 49ers. They even beat the Seahawks. So I think they come out with a win in this one. I think that they keep their long shot playoff hopes alive. And I just think the Giants, in a perfect world, I think the best thing for both teams is that the Giants lose. I think they need a better draft pick. And I think the Redskins have to make the playoffs if Kirk Cousins is going to make an argument for his next contract. So, and by the way, the Redskins run game and pass game out of the backfield does not seem to be effective at all by the injury to Kelly. Yep. So, I got the Redskins here. I actually have them covering the spread. I think they will cover the spread here at home.
Okay.
Giants are terrible on the road, by the way. So.
They are. Well, Giants are terrible in general this year so far, but they're very bad on the road as well.
Yeah, they're 1-4 away and home. So what am I saying?
So it sounds like you and I have the same picks for all of tomorrow, all of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and
right?
I'm thankful for that.
So Vikings, Chargers, Redskins are projected winners for tomorrow. Moving on now to the Sunday games, we're going to start it off with the 5-5 atrocious Buffalo Bills taking on the 6-4 Kansas City Chiefs. This one's going to be played in KC. Buffalo, I think it's about time they go back to Tyrod Taylor. Ever since they benched him and they went through that whole fiasco where Tyrod Taylor was being a little bit of a drama queen, let's be honest. He unfollowed and blocked the Buffalo Bills account on Twitter. I think it's time they go back to him. Nathan Peterman, like you said, Alex, he had a near record-setting performance at the half. 5 interceptions. That's not a record you want to set. But honestly, let's take a step back and really assess. Does it matter if Tyrod Taylor starts in this game? Doesn't matter. Kansas City Chiefs are playing a good brand of football, except that outlier of a week last week against the Giants. Buffalo started the year off really promising, right? They started off 5-2 and have now lost 3 straight games. And in this one, they're playing their I think their second consecutive road game versus a team that, like I said, he suffered quite an upset on the road last week against the Giants. I have the Chiefs winning this one, and I'm expecting a really big game against Kareem Hunt because Buffalo Bills' rushing defense is ranked among the worst in the league right now. Kareem Hunt's my champ in this one, and so is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, the Bills, I don't know what to say. I think you've got a front office and you have a coaching staff that are on 2 totally different pages. I don't agree with any of their statements to the media. Their actions speak louder than words, and I don't buy it. It's very similar to the Browns in a weird way with the A.J. McCarron trade, where the coaching staff backs Kaiser. They're fighting the front office who wants to trade for McCarron, and I don't believe the denial there either. So usually where there's smoke, there's fire. Bills, I don't know. I think they need to call the Browns and figure out if they want to tank, figure out how to tank right. I feel bad for the fan base. Peterman just absolutely he's not ready to be an NFL quarterback. I'm sorry, he just isn't. Yeah. If his mom's watching, sorry, I don't know.
Shout out to Nathan Petersman's mom.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Out, yeah. But yeah, I can't see the Bills going into Arrowhead and winning on Sunday. Now, that's not to say the Chiefs have been thoroughly impressive, but the one big X factor has been their run game, and you mentioned that. They haven't been able to get Kareem Hunt going like they did earlier on in the season. And what better opponent than the Buffalo Bills to do that, because they've been really bad against the run probably the second quarter of this season. I think part of that has to do with them giving away Marcel Darius for I don't know what they got for him. Did they get like a set of elbow pads for him, a helmet?
No. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was either a 4th or 6th round pick.
Yeah, I mean, it was something really ridiculous because they just wanted to unload the salary. I mean, the Bills just don't look like they want to make the playoffs. It's very weird because there's a lot of teams that would obviously trade spots with them in a heartbeat. So I have the Chiefs winning this one. I think it's going to be a really screwy game. I think it's going to be just like the Giants and the Chiefs last week. So I wouldn't put any money on it. I don't know if I'd play anybody in fantasy other than Kareem Hunt, who I think will have a good game. I think there's one game he rebounds in, it's this one. Tyreek Hill, obviously, always a good play. Other than that, I'd stay away from everybody else in this game in fantasy, but I have the Chiefs winning this one.
Words from the wise. Here we go. All right. Oh, this is gonna be a good game. Better game than what people may think. 7-3 Carolina Panthers, and they're being hosted by the 4-6 New York Jets. Carolina coming off of a bye week, right? However, they have been playing a great brand of football the last 3 weeks, has covered the spread in their last 4 out of 5 games on the road. And right now, if you're Carolina, you need to stockpile wins. You have to understand where you're ranked, not only within your division, but also not only within your conference, rather, but also within your division. Look at who else they play as. They play against the Falcons. They play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, believe it or not, are still in the hunt. I actually saw an interesting post posted by the official Twitter of the NFL saying, for the first time in I don't know how many years, every single team, all 32 teams, are in contention of playoffs. They're in the hunt. That's amazing. That means we're going to get a bunch of teams that are be fighting at wit's end to get wins this week. And honestly, Carolina Panthers, like I said, they have to stockpile wins right now. They need to get whatever leeway they can get to kind of push themselves up to fight through those ranks. Look at who's in their division and then who's in their conference. Absolutely amazing, some real powerhouse teams. They're in trouble. They're not in trouble. They kind of they control their own destiny right now. They have to win out. It's a 3-team race, as you may know, Alex. It's a 3-team race in the NFC South right now. Getting healthy, they need help getting healthy. Carolina Panthers, I don't know what's up with them, but they seem to lose people. They're known for losing people around this time of year for whatever reason. However, last week they didn't play because they had a bye, but the week prior they appeared to have their offense in stride. It's always nice seeing Cam Newton. I find him to be a little bit obnoxious sometimes, but it's nice seeing him out there throwing gestures at the opposing defense, screaming at people, getting in people's head. That's when you know he's on, right? And he's in that mode where he's like, I'm super competitive, and I'm going to beat you one-on-one. And Cam Newton, I think if he can enable that part of him from here on out, I see this Carolina Panthers team being very good and buying themselves into the playoffs. The Jets, on the other hand, yes, I just said all 32 teams have a fighting chance for playoffs, but realistically, looking at their schedule coming up, they play some real scary teams. And I believe they still have to play the Patriots. So there's that. Like I said, I think Carolina found something really good before their bye week. I think they're going to keep it going. I got Carolina winning this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm not really high on the Jets. I think everybody already knows that from pretty much week 1 of the season. I think they really overperformed the first quarter of the season, and they did that against some pretty rough teams in general. And you look at some of their wins, they eked out one against the Jaguars. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Browns. They beat the Bills. But they've lost 4 out of their last 5. The schedule gets tougher from here on out. And when it comes to the Panthers, they've shown they can play good defense. I had questions about their secondary going into the season, but they've kind of shored that up, and they've really done well in the secondary. They're playing good defense. Their offense is always a question mark, but they've done pretty well despite the loss of Kelvin Benjamin. Funchess has really picked it up for them. So even though they're on the road, I do have the Panthers winning this one. They are 4.5-point favorites. I do have them winning. I don't have them covering the spread, though. I think they steal this game like Cam Newton steals laptops.
Ooh!
They're gonna get out. They're gonna get out of East Rutherford, and it's gonna be really sneaky. But they're getting that win.
Man, Alex,
but play Cam Newton fantasy. He'll get you some points. Christian McCaffrey, good play. Panthers D, if you can get him, that's a good play. And then on the Jets, I would say McCown, sneaky good play all year. A lot of times the Jets have to play from behind. He gets a lot of yardage. He might even get some touchdowns too. So if you're looking for a streaming option, that might be your guy.
Hey, that was a savage jab at Cam Newton, but I liked it. That was well done, sir. Next up, we have the 3-7 Chicago Bears playing. Scary game. Scary game, guys. 9-1 Philly playing at home. Eagles playing at home, hosting the 3-7 Chicago Bears. I see this being a very tough challenge for rookie Mitchell Trubisky. That Eagles pass rush is something that I'm sure he's already had nightmares about this week. it's not a good situation for them. Philly, not only do they have a great defense, but their offense is led by projected even, league MVP Carson Wentz. I think there's really not much to say about this. I think defense, special teams, offense, by far is better than Chicago Bears. I'm taking the Eagles to win at home.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say about this one. I'm still not sold on Trubisky as a starter. I still maintain that he should have sat for the year, and his QBR would support that argument. I know that he'll make a good play here and there, but still, I mean, I don't think he's ready to be a starter right now, and I don't think that they're going to be competitive against a team like the Eagles, who are playing probably the most complete football in the NFL right now. So Philly is a 13.5-point favorite. Boy, that's a tough line. I don't know. I mean, with the Bears' D being pretty good, maybe you take the points. But I think they definitely win this one.
So you do see them covering the spread?
No, I think maybe they don't. Maybe they win by 10. You take the points because, I mean, it's tough to win by 14 in the NFL, even against the worst opponent.
Yeah, it is.
The Bears D is pretty good, but I'd still, if you're in fantasy football, I'd still play LeGarrette Blount. I'd still maybe think about playing Ajayi in the flex. Alshon Jeffries had a really quiet but good year. Mm-hmm. Same with Aguilar. I can never pronounce that guy's name right.
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, Nelson Aguilar has just had a tremendous season, real low-key. Carson Wentz would obviously be a good start. Eagles D, if you can get them, might be one to look at. And then on the Bears, I mean, as always, Jordan Howard, that's a good play. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I don't know. But yeah, Eagles, I don't think they cover. But I think they win.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the 8-2 New England Patriots hosting a division rival, Miami Dolphins, that are 4-6 right now. Miami has now lost their last 4 games. New England has won the last 6 games. And let's say it, folks. We've talked a lot about the Eagles being Super Bowl candidates. This New England Patriots offense and defense, this is a New England Patriots team, period. If we're being real, they are looking like an actual Super Bowl worthy team again. Pats, for all intents and purposes, have locked up this division. They're right now playing for nothing more than that top seed. Finns, however, are in a tailspin right now and may have to go back to starting Matt Moore. And all Miami Dolphins fans just vomited a little bit in their mouth. I think Pats will continue to roll, especially behind Tom Brady. This is my slam dunk game of the week. I'm going to say take the Patriots. I don't know what the spread is. I imagine it's not enough. I don't think it's large enough. But I'm saying take the Patriots. What is the spread?
Oh, it's pretty vast. Let me take a look here. It's 16 points.
16 points. There you go. This is my slam dunk game for that reason. Patriots are just a better team. I don't even know. There's no comparison here. Patriots are just a better team. That's my pick. I know Alex is about to pick the Dolphins to win, though, so let's hear it.
I appreciate Matt Moore's toughness. I think for him to finish that game in the playoffs last year was commendable. I think that Matt Moore came in last week and certainly gave the Dolphins offense a spark. He was throwing the football downfield, which is shocking because...
Wait. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We didn't expect that. Just got a new sponsor on the stream. I appreciate that, Ghost Rider.
Oh, no way. Oh, I thought I was doing something wrong.
No, you were doing fine. It just came in super loud. If we can get a hashtag Ghost Rider in the chat, thank you so much for becoming a channel sponsor. I believe that's our 19th. Alex, I'm so sorry for disrupting you. Go ahead and continue. What were you saying?
let me just say right now, you ever want to cut me off for a new sponsor? Yeah, man. Just like that week went by. So yeah, man. Matt Moore really showed me something last week. You know, they were throwing the football downfield a little bit more. They had a little bit more vertical aspect to their offense. And that's shocking because he doesn't have the arm that Jay Cutler has. But he was opening up the pass game. But even with all that, I just don't see the Dolphins being able to compete with the Patriots. The Patriots offense is running like clockwork, one of the best in the league. And then the Patriots defense, I have to give them credit where credit's due. Beginning of this year, they had more holes than an Afghan. And this, this last week, they really look good. Their scoring against has significantly improved. They're giving up a lot of yards, but they are it's like that bend but don't break defense that Indianapolis used to kind of specialize in. So over the last couple of weeks, that defense has kind of come together because a lot of the younger players have come along. So I do have the Patriots winning here. I don't know if they're going to cover. A 16-point spread is a lot to cover, but they are playing at home, so it's tough. I wouldn't put money on it because, man, that's a lot of points to cover. But still, I think Tom Brady's going to have a huge game. So if you have him, start him. I think any Patriots wide receiver is a good play, either at a wide receiver slot or a flex play. And then I would even tell you Patriots D might be sneaky good if you're looking for a streaming option, because you never know. Matt Moore might have a bad game because he's 50-50, and sometimes he plays really well, sometimes he doesn't. But
right.
Patriots win. I don't know about that spread, though.
So what you just said has me absolutely horrified because, I don't know if you noticed, but this week in fantasy football, my opponent is actually starting Tom Brady, and he's projected. I believe the projections are super lowballed. I think he's projected like 20 points, but if he goes and has like a 5-touchdown outing, I'm done. I'm right now at this point on the cusp of making playoffs in our fantasy league, and that kind of has me worried that I'm going up against a talent such as Tom Brady. So I'll be keeping my eyes on that game for sure this Sunday. Moving on now. PurpleSwordfish's 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Atlanta to play the 6-4 Falcons. Falcons have impressed, especially, like I said, on Monday. A very, very impressive victory over Seattle on Monday Night Football. They now have won, They now, from here on out, they have 3 straight home games, beginning with, obviously, Tampa Bay. Atlanta, if you remember, I know Alex remembers this, earlier this year, they actually lost to the Bucs. Not earlier this year. No, last year. Was it last year? I think it was. This very same game, they lost to the Buccaneers last year. However, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that you're seeing this week is a much different Tampa Bay Buccaneers team than we saw last year. Tampa Bay now has won 2 straight games, so they are playing like they got a set of cojones, and they want to play and they want to win. You can really see the fire in their coaches' eyes and their players' eyes. However, with all that being said, I like the quality of win that the Falcons came out with on Monday versus the Seattle Seahawks, playing away in that crowd. The 12th man, you know how much of a factor that can be. That really impressed me. They got a lot of respect points from me. So I'm going to say Atlanta continues to ride that. Both teams are coming off of a win. I know that. But I like the quality of the win that the Atlanta Falcons had. And plus, they're playing at home. I'll take the Falcons.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The Falcons looked really good last week. I know a lot of people were all over social media talking about, oh, man, they almost blew another big lead. But you know what? They didn't. That's the point, is that they didn't blow the lead. They still won that game. They still closed it out.
Yep.
I still think they have some work to do. So if they're truly going to go back to Super Bowl contention. They do certainly have some work to do, but they're firing a little bit better than they were a couple weeks ago on offense. And their defense doesn't look terrible. It looks better. They're making plays. They made a couple plays against Seattle, specifically in the first quarter. Now, when it comes to the Bucs, I really like what they've been getting from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I got to say, it's starting to get to that point. There's whispers, there's rumors that maybe people are starting to think, is Jameis Winston truly a franchise quarterback? I think when he returns, he has to show that front office, that franchise, and even that fan base something to prove that he truly is a franchise quarterback, because it looks really bad that Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in, wins 2 games, and does so in pretty convincing fashion and pretty efficiently. So while I do love me some Fitz magic, I just think it's too much to overcome going into Atlanta, who's coming off a good win, back against the wall. They have to win this game. They're much like the Panthers. If they want to win the division, this has to be a win. If they want wild card contention, this also has to be a win. Buccaneers, they're 9.5-point underdogs. I think the Falcons win. I think they cover. If you're looking for somebody to play in fantasy, I would tell you on the Bucs, Doug Martin's a good play. Who can be had for cheap. Mike Evans, always got to play Mike Evans if you have him. Deshaun Jackson has been showing a lot. He's actually been performing better with Fitzpatrick, a quarterback, than Winston these last couple of weeks. So that's kind of interesting to me. And then on the Falcons, I mean, if you got Julio Jones, you got to play him. Matt Ryan, good play in this game. Tevin Coleman looks really good. I know he's not Devontae Freeman, but he looks really good. And then defense, I'd just leave it alone. But yeah,
okay.
I think the Falcons win here.
I have a couple of questions for you, Alex.
Sure.
Number one, how dare you? I'm just kidding. So, quick question. So, are you, as a Buccaneers fan, are you sold on Jameis Winston? Do you believe, to answer the question that you just posed, do you believe he's a franchise quarterback?
No, I think that it's like any other quarterback. You have to say, can this guy lead us to the playoffs as a quarterback? So a good example of that would be year 1, Carson Wentz was pretty good, right? Year 2, look at him now, right? Jared Goff, year 1, Jeff Fisher
not so great.
It.
Yeah, not so great.
Blame the walrus, Jeff Fisher. Year 2, he turns it around. They're on track for the playoffs. I'm not saying that it doesn't take till year 3 sometimes, but still, true franchise quarterbacks. I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about top 10, top 5 guys. Doesn't matter who's around them. They make everybody else around them better. They're like a good point guard in the NBA. So, like, you look at Drew Brees, much older example, right? But Drew Brees, he goes, it doesn't matter who his receivers are. Tom Brady, doesn't matter who his receivers are. And even when Tom Brady got an elite guy like Randy Moss had career years in New England. He always makes people better. Tom Brady always makes people better. Drew Brees always makes people better. I wonder, can Jameis Winston do that same thing? It's tough. Okay. But I just worry, man, what if this is another Josh Freeman situation? Ooh. Where, like, Josh Freeman, they thought he was the dude.
Yeah,
and
they
then
did.
It fell apart. And I kind of worry now, and don't even get me into the most recent allegations brought forth about Jameis Winston. That's really concerning to me too.
Yeah. But you just addressed actually both my questions, 2 and 1. You already knew what the second question was. My second question, in case you were wondering, was, okay, if he's not, what does Jameis Winston have to do to prove himself to be that franchise guy? But you just answered that. So, appreciate you. Next game, we have, the Battle of Ohio. And, man, it is not a pretty one. The Bengals, guys, they still have very, very small playoff hopes. Cleveland, obviously, with that 0-10 schedule, or 0-10 record, rather, they're trying to prevent from becoming or going winless. Cincinnati defense has been solid really all year long, coming up with a almost pick six last week by Kirkpatrick, who fumbled the ball and regained possession and was tackled down at the 1 yard line. They need to be solid again, the Cincinnati Bengals defense does, if they want to have any hopes of winning this game and actually making a serious, respectable run at the playoffs. However, as I mentioned, Cleveland, you don't want to be the team known for not winning any games. I think if ever there was a team that Cleveland could beat, upset alert, it's this one. I'm taking Cleveland to win this one on the road, get their first win of the year. I don't even know what the spread is, but I really don't care. Cleveland has been keeping their last couple of games pretty close, reasonably close, but they're going to win this one. First win of the year comes in Week 12 for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, if there is one game that's winnable for the Browns, it's this one. I don't see it. I think the Browns, as long as they're starting Deshaun Kaiser, they're just not going to win. Like it's just not going to happen. And just to give a little background on how I feel about Deshaun Kaiser, I don't think that he was an exceptional college quarterback. Mm-hmm. I'm shocked that he went as high in the draft as he did. I even thought when he got drafted that he'd be much like, Paxton Lynch, where he's drafted because of, kind of like tangibles where he's a project, right? Mm-hmm. I never saw Kaiser starting this year. I was shocked to see that. And as long as they're starting him, I just don't see him winning this year. Bengals, they have their own problems, but they do have a couple really good playmakers who I think will put them over the top in this game in A.J. Green and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon quietly having a very good year. He's clearly carved out the starting role at running back in Cincinnati, which is saying a lot because Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard are both very talented backs, but Joe Mixon is clearly the best of those three. Still not sold on Andy Dalton as a franchise quarterback, but A.J. Green and to a lesser extent LaFell give them a lot in the passing attack. I think they win this one. I don't know if they covered a spread. It's an 8-point spread in Cincinnati's favor. I'd stay away from that one because Cincinnati, man, they will bungle it up one way or another and win by 3. I don't know, but I have the Bengals winning this one. I just don't think they covered a spread.
Okay. Alrighty, so you're taking Bengals. Hold on, let me take a look. Is that the only game you and I have disagreed on so far?
That's our first disagreement, but there's just so many games this week. I mean, look at some of these spreads, 10, 16. It's crazy, these spreads.
Yeah, I was having hopes of pulling away from you in the picks, but it's not looking like it's going to happen this week. Or maybe, I don't know. There's still half the other games to go.
Oh,
maybe we'll differ on these. I think we'll differ on this one. 3-7 Indianapolis Colts hosting the 6-4 Tennessee Titans. Jacoby Brissette playing pretty well despite being in concussion protocol. This is their second meeting of the year, Tennessee and the Colts. The first meeting, the Colts lost, but they kept it really, really close. And the Colts were playing on the road in that game, if you guys remember. Tennessee, meanwhile, they're playing consecutive road games again, and they have not played well. Defense and offense have not been played well. And so far, of all the games they've played, home games and away games, they've only covered the spread 3 times. That is a startling fact that's got me worried. And for that reason, I believe I'm going to go ahead and take – it's a risk. It's a big risk. But I have to take some risks here if I have any hopes of beating you in these NFL picks. I'm taking the 3-7 Colts to win at home over the Tennessee Titans. Alex?
I just have to put this theory forth. I've noticed this year you've been unusually high on the Colts. and you usually talk about Jacoby Brissette as part of that. Are you a low-key Jacoby Brissette fan?
No, I'm not.
Are you in the process of ordering an NFL Shop custom jersey from the Ravens that says like Brissette on the back? But if Joe Flacco rides off into the sunset, maybe the Ravens trade for Jacoby Brissette and he becomes the new Joe Flacco.
I'll tell you what, I won't be buying a Jacoby Brissette jersey, but if my picks continue to go as poorly as they have, I will soon be the proud new owner of a Jameis Winston jersey. So I guess things can get worse.
Well, I think you like Jacoby Brissette a little bit more than you're putting on here, but I'm not really as high on the Colts. And the Titans are confusing, man. Like they're one of the few teams. The Titans, the Ravens, the Bills, because of the front office, even my favorite team, the Bucs. I don't know what to expect out of them week to week. And the Titans are definitely one of those teams. I just, some weeks they come out, they're dominant, they're running the football. Everything's working. Mariota's running option plays. The pass game is opened up because of it. And then there are other weeks where they can't run the football. The offense looks completely lost. Mariota's making mistakes. Last week against the Steelers, they really looked rough. Mariota was making a lot of bad decisions. But I think this is a good rebound game for the Titans. I know they are on the road, and they are 3-point favorites. And it could be a tough game for them. It could be a trap game. But I do have the Titans going in and winning this one just based on talent alone. And if you're looking for somebody to play in fantasy, I think Mariota's a good play. DeMarco Murray's a good one. Derrick Henry. Wrong Henry. Derrick Henry might be a good play as well. And then on the Colts, Jacoby Brissette might, this might turn into a shootout. So if you're looking for a streaming option, he might be a good play. And then finally, Frank Gore might be a good flex play too.
Okay. Alrighty. And before we move on to our next pick, I want to acknowledge something that someone just posted in the chat. Actually, a couple people posted. Today marks the 10-year anniversary of the Mark Sanchez butt fumble. So there's that.
Should we have a moment of silence? That was a meme. Like, is it just me, or does that play feel like it was a meme before memes were a thing?
Yeah, it definitely set the stage for memes as we know them, for sure. This next game is not much of a game, in my opinion. We've got the 1-9 San Francisco 49ers hosting the 6-4 Seattle Seahawks. I don't have much to say about this one. Seattle, they haven't looked like the team we expected them to be. They've certainly been crippled on defense by injuries, but honestly, it doesn't matter here. They're missing some big names like Sherman and Chancellor. Like I said, not an issue here, I don't think. 49ers aren't good on offense, and that's going to show up and be exposed in this one because the Seattle Seahawks defense, it's all about next man up with them. And we saw it happen on Monday Night Football. Next man up. We saw guys like Jeremy Lane really coming through and embracing their roles and playing quite well, might I add. And I think this is one of those games where Russell Wilson offensively, him and that offense, but namely him, he's going to have a big game. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks to win away against the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this game. I just, 49er, I feel like a caveman. 49ers bad. Seahawks good. I don't know. Like, they're not a very good football team. I know they won last week. I don't want to, well, not last week, but 2 weeks ago. I just think as long as CJ Beathard is starting over Garoppolo, I just don't see them competing with a team like the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks D is really concerning to me without Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor. I think those are two really big losses. I think Seahawks fans have kind of underplayed that, but I still think those are really, really big losses for them. But still, I think the Seahawks, just based on Russell Wilson alone, will win this game. I just can't see a scenario where the 49ers win. So I'm taking the Seahawks. I think they cover a 6.5-point spread. And then if you're looking for somebody in fantasy football, I would tell you Russell Wilson's a good play. Baldwin is a good play. Tyler Lockett, also a pretty good play, and he's available in a lot of leagues for real cheap. Might even be on the free agent list. And other than Carlos Hyde, I'd stay away from anybody on the 49ers.
Okay, there you have it. Next up is a game that's, in my opinion, let me preface this. So last week, I said the Rams and Vikings game would be the quote-unquote game of the week. Boy, was I wrong. I'm going to say the Rams are involved in that prediction again this week. I'm saying this 8-2 Saints versus 7-3 Rams game is the game of the week, in my opinion. Again, I could be wrong about that once the kickoff actually happens. This is going to be a long road trip for the New Orleans Saints. They rallied last week to win behind Drew Brees, and they're going to need him. If they want to win in this one, they're going to need him in a big way. It's going to be a really fun match. If you guys like seeing touchdowns, as most millennials do now, if you like seeing touchdowns and not so much defense.
You lazy millennials. You don't like to work on offense for your touchdowns. You like lackluster defense and no contact after 5 yards.
If you like no defense on all touchdowns, boy, oh boy, this is the game for you. You got old guy Drew Brees facing off Jared Goff. I think the team that's going to win the shootout I think the team that's going to win the shootout is actually going to be Drew Brees and the Saints. Again, it's not going to come down to defense. It's going to come down to who's got the best offense. And right now, I'm going to say the Saints. Alex?
Yeah, I really like the Saints in this game. Rams, they're a really good team. But last week, the Rams really struggled against a good defense. So going into this game, I think they're facing another really good defense in the New Orleans D. I know they didn't look great last week against Washington, but towards the end, when it really mattered, that New Orleans D came together and gave Drew Brees and the New Orleans offense a chance to come back, get into that game, and win it. So Jared Goff, I got to say, a little disappointed last week. I know he's only a second-year guy, but he really struggled against the Vikings. I think he goes in, struggles again against a really good defensive unit. Drew Brees has got the experience factor. He's like 47 years old at this point. I think he's going to play another 5 years. So I got the Saints winning this one, but I think it's going to be really close. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be one of the better games this week.
Right on. Right on. Next up, we have another rivalry game. We've got the 3-7 Denver Broncos going into Oakland. We're not going to be saying Oakland much longer anyway. It's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. But anyway, 3-7 Denver Broncos facing off against the 4-6 Oakland Raiders. Raiders playing at home in this one. Both teams, let's just say it, they've been major disappointments. Broncos, they're basically done. Yeah, mathematically, like I said a few minutes ago, all 32 teams are still in it for the playoffs. They're all in the hunt. But Denver, the way they've been playing, they're pretty much done. I think this week they finally take a loss that's going to do them in for the season. Oakland, this is a must-win for them. If they want to have any playoff chance, this not only could be the week, but this is the week. They have to win this week. That'd make them 5-6. It'll put them up closer to wild card territory in the AFC. Denver, they're going to play a good game like they did last week. They're going to keep it close. They're going to lose, but they're going to keep it close. I don't know what the line is on this one. It can't be too much. Is it like two or three for Oakland? Is that what it is?
This
maybe 3.5.
This is Oakland is a 5-point favorite.
5. Okay, I don't see him covering that. I'm looking at this more of like a 2.5, maybe 3 for the Raiders. But that's my pick. I'm taking the Raiders to win at home.
Yeah, I got to disagree with you. I think they covered a spread here, and here's why. The Broncos, complete disarray. The defense, I won't take too much time on this because it's the same thing I've been saying every week, but the defense for Denver, it hasn't been there. That used to be their strong suit. It just hasn't performed as well as it has in the past. Offense goes without saying. They don't have a quarterback. They're trying to figure it out. They're starting Paxton Lynch this week, reportedly. I don't think that's going to work well for them. I'm not really high on Paxton Lynch as a potential NFL quarterback at this point in his career. So I'm going with the Raiders here. I think they cover the 5-point spread, and they get a much-needed rebound after a couple tough losses.
All right, so we're both on the Oakland Raiders. As we move on now into our late afternoon games, we've got the 7-3 Jacksonville Jaguars going into Arizona to take the 4-6 Cardinals at home. This is going to be the second straight road game for a young, resilient, and tough Jacksonville team. Jacksonville has a dominant defense that travels very well. I believe they're number one. Their defense is ranked number 1 in the NFL right now as far as number of yards allowed per game, as well as total number of fumbles. So, shout out to that Jacksonville defense. And they're a bunch of young guys, too. Guys like Jalen Ramsey and Bouye. Absolutely amazing. This is actually kind of like an interesting storyline in this one because they're facing former Jacksonville quarterback Blaine Gabbert. So, we'll see how that one ends up. I don't think it's going to end up too well for Blaine Gabbert, as I think Jacksonville's pass rush defense is bar none. And I think that they're going to get to him early and often. They're going to suffocate him, not allow him to really have any time in the pocket to go through any progressions. You take away what was the one thing that the whole bounty gate. Remember the New Orleans Saints? They said I think they were going up against Frank Gore, and they're like, "What's the trick to taking him down?" Well, you kill the head and the body dies. I think the same thing happens here. You kill Blaine Gabbert, obviously not figuratively speaking. You kill Blaine Gabbert, that whole team's going to die. I'm going to say Jacksonville's going to win this one. I don't even know what the spread is. It's probably looking like 8 or 9, I'm assuming, but I would say take the over on the spread. This is going to be a good game. They're going to generate touchdowns. Maybe you're going to get a touchdown on defense, but for sure, look for them to get a couple turnovers as well. So Jacksonville wins a big one here.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I think the Jaguars' defense is the best in the league right now. I know I'm going to get a little bit of hate for that. I know there's some Steelers fans out there and probably some Vikings.
They don't matter.
Who disagree with me, but well, yeah. I mean, they're just marginalized. I don't care what they think.
Yeah, they're garbage human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, are they triggered by me saying that? Or no, I'm sorry, getting too far with it. But no, seriously, I really think the Jaguars D is the best in the league just because they've had to overcome, unlike Minnesota, unlike the Steelers, they've had to overcome completely incompetent quarterback play in the way of Blake Bortles. So, Jaguars D, I think they go on the road. They travel pretty well. They've been 4-1 on the road. That's pretty impressive considering how young that team is. They go and they face the Cardinals against Blaine Gabbert. Real short story. A long time ago when I was a much younger man, I went and I saw the Jaguars in Jacksonville play the Houston Texans, who had J.J. Watt at the time. And Blaine Gabbert was in absolute fear of his life and was making bad throws just due to pressure off of the edge. I think the same thing happens here with the Jaguars. They bring a lot of pressure towards the quarterback, even blitzing linebackers like Telvin Smith, and offensive lines just don't know what to do with it because Telvin Smith, he could drop back in coverage, get a pick, he could sack your quarterback, get a fumble. I mean,
True. Both
have happened this year. So I think Blaine Gabbert's going to have a really hard time. This will not be the Blaine Gabbert revenge tour. So I have the Jaguars here. I have them covering the 5.5 point spread.
That's all?
Yeah, that's all. I mean, But here's the thing. You have to account for Blake Bortles. So
that is true.
That's why it's low. But if you gave Jacksonville, it's so crazy, man. Like, if you gave Jacksonville, I don't know. I'm just thinking here, like, off the top, like, who's an average court? Jacoby Brissette. Like, let's just give Jacksonville Jacoby. What? That's your. Oh, I know. You want him to be a Raven. Jacoby Cool. The next Joe Cool. But yeah, man, if you gave the Jaguars someone like Jacoby Brissette, I mean, there's no question they'd be right up there with the Eagles. Like, they'd probably be a 2 or a 1-loss team right now.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both on Jacksonville. And then Sunday Night Football. Man, this is a game. By the way, Green Bay is 5-5, going into Pittsburgh to play on Sunday Night Football, which is always a difficult place at night. Pittsburgh fans are as crazy as Seattle fans when playing at home. Pittsburgh's 8-2. I remember actually not so long ago when the NFL schedule for this year had just come out, and they pointed to this game in week 12, saying, "Hey, not only is this a great Week 12 Sunday night matchup, but it's a potential Super Bowl matchup." A lot of people saw these two guys going back at it in another Super Bowl rematch, the Packers and the Steelers. There's a lot of people's projections. I never understood that, why people came up with Super Bowl projections before even any preseason games are done played. But anyway, that's what it was. And here we are now, actually in Week 12. This is not the big game that we thought it was going to be when the schedule came out. Obviously, losing Aaron Rodgers is a big difference. Shout out to a huge Packers fan, Jerome PKR. He had a lot of interesting tweets this weekend on Twitter as I followed him as my Ravens demolished his Packers. He was right. Aaron Rodgers means a lot to this team. A lot. He's the what's the old saying? He's the straw that stirs the drink. That's what Aaron Rodgers is. And obviously they can't do that with Hundley. Steelers, they've been playing very well. Right? After beating Tennessee in a very impressive victory. They put up a 40-burger, I believe, against Tennessee on Thursday Night Football. Very impressive victory. And I think they will continue to impress here. I think it's going to be another great outing for Big Ben and Lev Bell. I'm taking Pittsburgh big time. This is probably going to be my second slam dunk game of the week. I'm taking Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, it hurts me to say as a Ravens fan, but I got to be honest. I got to make my picks with my noggin and not my heart. So Steelers is going to be the win for me.
Yeah, it's a real shame when you think about what this could have been, because the Aaron Rodgers injury, it's really similar to the Ezekiel Elliott suspension, just in the way that when you remove that one player from a team, everything else just seems to fall apart. And Aaron Rodgers was the one thing that was holding that Packers team together, despite all the injuries, despite some questionable personnel choices and changes. Aaron Rodgers was coming in, week out, playing. I firmly believe this. Best quarterback in the NFL today, period. Okay? So I know Jerome was talking a lot, and great follow, by the way, on Twitter if you haven't already, at Jerome PKR. But great YouTuber as well. But nevertheless, like he was talking about a lot about how Aaron Rodgers means more to the Packers than Tom Brady means to the Patriots. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that completely, but what I will say is Aaron Rodgers means the world to the Packers. You remove him from the equation, it's like taking Drew Brees away from the Saints. It becomes a completely different football team. And not slamming Hundley here. I think he's doing really well for a second-year quarterback who was not expected to start, who didn't get first-team reps, who didn't go through training camp expecting to start. He's doing really well, considering the circumstances. But going into Pittsburgh on the road, playing a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that has exceeded all expectations, and performed very well last week against Marcus Mariota and made him look really bad, by the way. And then in addition to that, facing off against an offense that seems to finally be like finding their way and clicking and firing on all cylinders with the emergence of Juju Smith-Schuster and, Antonio Brown's finally playing the way we expected him to. Same with Le'Veon Bell and even Big Ben. So I just have the Steelers winning this one. It's a tough line to pick on because the Steelers are 14-point favorites. So it's really hard to lay down money on a team's going to cover that kind of spread. But I actually have them covering this spread. And I would tell you play anybody on the Steelers offense that you can play, and maybe even play that Steelers D if you can get them.
Defense, special teams, yeah, they're going to have a nice outing against this Packers team that coughed the ball up 4 times last week. And
it's had issues on special teams as well.
They've had
some major issues on special teams, and I don't know if the Packers are paying their special teams coordinator after this year. They've been atrocious on special teams.
Agreed. Moving on to our last game, I want to say before we get into this final game for Monday Night Football, after this pick, if you guys want to call in, we can start pulling in live call-ins on the podcast. So in the Discord, there's a voice chat lobby entitled NTL Show Call-ins. Go ahead and pop in there if you want to call. If you have any questions or comments, that'll be the time to do it. Speaking of Monday Night Football, this is a game very near and dear to me, as my Ravens, 5-5 Ravens now, thoroughly average team by all means, taking on the 4-6 Houston Texans. To me, this 4-6 Houston Texans team has a lot in common with the team we faced last week, the Green Bay Packers. Interesting statistic I pulled today. If the season ended today, if the playoffs started today, the Ravens have the 6th overall seed in the AFC, which means one thing, that this is a must-win game. We really absolutely cannot lose this game. We need to continue to fight, especially with talent in the AFC, like Jaguars, Steelers. I mean, there's some top dogs in there. I'm really thinking that we're going to have difficulty even making the playoffs. There's just far too much talent in the AFC this year. However, Baltimore, defensively, of course, because we still can't score touchdowns for whatever reason, but defensively, we have been playing outstanding football as of late, forcing the ball, forcing turnovers, and even scoring off of turnovers, which is a great sight to see, because like I said, we can't score offensively, so anytime we see a turnover, a fumble, I'm already hoping we turn that into a touchdown. I think we're going to continue to do well, because we did pretty well last week against Hundley. This week, I believe Houston is going to be going with Tom Savage again. Tom Savage versus a Ravens defense. I'm liking the Ravens defense in that matchup in a big way. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I know it's a big surprise to everyone, but I say the Ravens continue to roll and try to at least secure a spot for themselves in this playoff run as we head into December football. Alex?
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this game. The Texans have, every time I think that they're down and out and they're not going to win a game, they seem to come out with a win. Tom Savage looked pretty decent last week. And it's weird, man. When the first or second time a backup quarterback goes out, they usually look pretty rough, and then after that they look okay. So I don't know. It's tough to say how it's going to look this week, but I have this game as a coin flip, so I'm going to go ahead and flip a coin right now. Okay. I'm going to go with heads, Ravens.
Oh, you weren't kidding about this. You're actually tails, for those of you guys listening to this on SoundCloud,
tails, Texans.
This guy's actually flipping a coin.
Okay, I got tails, so I'm taking the Texans.
Wow, what an absolute savage.
I know Ravens are 7-point favorites, but I don't have any faith in them because I don't know what to expect from the Ravens drive to drive, game to game, week to week, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to take the Texans here. I don't know. Upset special of the week.
Wow.
Thanks,
Right
Coin.
on.
Appreciate it.
Right on. Okay, so you're taking the Texans on Monday Night Football. Didn't see that one coming. Absolutely savage maneuver, pulling out the old coin and being at the full mercy of whatever that decision was. So he's taking the Texans. So I believe we disagreed on 3 or 4 games this week. I'm hoping that I'm right on all 4 of those because I'm 6 games behind. Even if I do get all my games right and I beat you this week, I'm still down 2 games. So that's a scary thing to think about. But anyway, we're going to start opening it up. We got through all our NFL picks. We're going to open it up to call-ins. Without further ado, we're going to go to our first call-in, known as Pat's Fan in the chat. What's going on, Pat's Fan?
I wonder what his favorite team is.
What's up, Pat's Fan?
Hey, I'm good. I see you picked the Vikings to beat the Lions at home.
I did.
Yeah. I wouldn't go with the Vikings
Okay. And why is that?
because I see Matt Stafford going off, and I see Case Keenum throwing a pick just like Sam Bradford did last year.
So you're saying Case Keenum throws 1 pick and it's the game over?
Depends on what spot he throws it in.
Okay, what about? But I feel like you're completely discounting the defense that Minnesota Vikings have.
I know. I see Xavier Rhodes out there playing lockdown D.
Okay, so you have this game being a close one then, or what's the disagreement here?
I just see Detroit outplaying Minnesota.
Okay. Fair enough. Appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you. Next up, we have the one, the only.
Maybe Matt Stafford surprises us and actually, he's elite for a game.
Oh my goodness.
So maybe he has a point.
Savagery. We got Sergeant Kicker in here. I believe his mic is muted. So we'll give him a second. 3, 2, and gone. Sorry, Sergeant Kicker.
Oh man, he got Cavs fan.
He got Cavs fan. We'll try one more time. He's still muted. I'm really not sure what's up with that, but thank you for your attempt to call in. We've got Blue Lightning 26. Blue Lightning 26 calling in. What's up, Blue Lightning 26? Is his mic also muted?
Hey, Double R, you've got Sergeant Kicker in here too. Hey, Sergeant Kicker, if you think the Steelers are overrated, just don't say anything right now. Good choice of words.
Way to put words in his mouth. He actually left. That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so that's going to conclude us then for this week. Thank you so much to everybody who came through on the podcast. Thank you so much for making it what it is. Again, I want to say on behalf of me and my co-host, we want to wish you a happy and safe Thanksgiving season. Tomorrow, eat lots of good food, spend time with family, and watch a lot of football. This is Raining Ravens out, and my co-host, Alex, a.k.a. Purple Swordfish.
Happy Thanksgiving. Believe in the coin.
Believe in the coin. Hashtag believe in the coin. We will see you guys next week for a Week 13 edition of NFL Talk Live podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of NFL Talk. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of NFL Talk Live with Raining Ravens 1 and Alex, a.k.a. Purple Swordfish. Streaming weekly on the YouTube channel Raining Ravens 1 with all the audio archives on SoundCloud. Follow Raining Ravens 1 on Twitter at Raining Ravens 1 and follow Alex on Twitter at Swordfish Show. If you'd like to be part of the live call-in on the next episode, make sure to join the Discord server. This podcast is sponsored by Jerky XP. Save money on your order at the checkout by using the code RR1. We'll catch you next time on NFL Talk Live.